Hey guys, Chap's here and welcome back to another Chromebook review. Today we are taking a look at the HP X360, the 14C model. I got this from Best Buy. It was open box in excellent condition for $428. It normally retails for $699, so I feel like I got a pretty good deal here. Being I got it open box excellent, I wasn't sure what the condition was going to be, but this thing feels brand new. It was missing the original papers and the original packaging, but other than that, this thing is brand new. It's fantastic. This thing is a 14-inch screen. It's 1920 by 1080, has an 11th gen i3 processor, 8 gigs of RAM, and 128 gigabytes of storage. It comes in at just under 3/4 of an inch thick, 8.1 inches deep, and about 12.5 inches wide, a little more than that. It comes in at 3.67 pounds, which for a 14-inch screen is actually a little heavy, but it more than makes up for that because of the build quality. This thing is mostly aluminum, and it's a tank. This thing, like I said, it's heavy, but it feels fantastic. I think you could throw this across the room and it would be just fine. Before we get into some of the other details, I'll mention that this also comes with a 45-watt charger. It is the type that has the power brick in the middle of it. That's kind of unfortunate, but it is a large or long cable, so it works out pretty well. Okay, so we have a 720p webcam. That's nothing special. Most Chromebooks seem to have that. You can use it for basic video conferencing, but you're not going to want to use it for video editing or something like that. It has a fingerprint sensor, which is really nice. I'm going to be sharing a Chromebook with my wife, and having us both be able to log in without having our phones around, just swiping your fingerprint, that's a really nice thing to have. There's no pen docking on this, but it does have USI pen support. So let's look at some of these ports here. On the right side, we've got a headphone jack, the USB-C port, a USB-A port, and a micro SD card slot. I want to bring up this USB-A port. This thing right here, it's a plastic little thing that flips down in order to allow a USB-A to go in there. It's plastic. It seems a little bit fragile. Most people say they don't have an issue with it, but I could see if you're someone who likes to use a wireless keyboard or a wireless mouse, and maybe you have the little adapter in there all of the time, then maybe this isn't the book for you. It could be fine, but I honestly feel like if you have that pulled down all the time with one of those little nub adapters in, it's probably going to end up breaking off. But anyways, flipping over to the other side of the screen here, we've got another USB-C port, we've got the power button, and the volume rocker, because this is a 2-in-1 tablet, so having that power button and volume rocker on the outside is nice. I've got a little sheet here on it, a little sticker, but that's right next to the camera shutter. It's this interesting little thing. It's down here on the side that you can just flip back and forth rather than being up next to the webcam. It's kind of odd, it's an electronic shutter, but it seems to work just fine. And I guess while we're talking about ports, I'll mention that there's no HDMI port. Alright, so opening this thing up, you can see I am opening this from the sides here. I'll do that again. I am opening it from the corners. I can't really open it too well from the middle. I can, it's a little bit of a struggle. My wife actually struggled for quite a while trying to get it open. The magnet here, if I shut this, the magnet holding that shut is insanely strong. To the point where it's one of the things that makes me feel like I might want to return this. I've seen people put little nubs or little plastic things down on the keyboard to keep this from closing all the way just so that you can open it. But also, when I open this here, you'll see there's no ergo lift on it. And that's something that I actually really like. Some people like it when you open the screen and the back lifts up a little bit, but not having that ergo lift thing just means there's no little plastic nubs on the back here that are going to break off. But alright, so fold it over into tent mode, and tent mode works just fine. Put it in the tablet mode, and just like when it's closed, that magnet, it's so strong that, here, you can even hear that. It really snaps shut and it stays closed in tablet mode really well. Like I said before, it's kind of a heavy device. I don't know how many people are going to be walking around using this thing in tablet mode like this, but it works. It stays shut really well, and yeah. Alrighty, now switching back over, and let's just put it like this. You can take a look at the screen here. Oops, I don't know why I have the messages thing up. Alright, you can take a look at the screen. Like I said before, 14 inches, 1920 by 1080. It's only 250 nits. It's not super bright. I don't really have too much of an issue with that. Like I reviewed on the Asus, I typically turn it down. I probably have it near 150 or 200 most of the times on a laptop, so being 250 is not a huge deal, but it is unfortunate. You can't use it in a super bright room and you can't use it outside. The big hit on this though is that, at least for the unit that I received, the screen is slightly warm. It's tinted yellow a little bit, and no, I don't have night mode on. It's just the screen is slightly yellow. I'll throw something up on the screen here showing the Asus that I reviewed and this thing side by side, and yeah, it's definitely a little bit dimmer. That means that even though I typically can turn the brightness down slightly, with this thing, I need to have the brightness cranked all the way up in order to be able to see it really well. So yeah, that's not ideal. For audio, we've got a pair of microphones. They're right up here next to the webcam, and honestly, it took me a while to find them on this, even though I knew where they should be. They are very well hidden on this. It's kind of nice. There are upwards firing speakers on here, so one on each side of the keyboard, and it makes for really good audio quality. I wish more laptops did this. Like the Asus I reviewed, I wish the speakers were on the sides. The only thing that's sort of unfortunate about the speakers being on the sides is that when you put it in tent mode like this, and you're watching the screen on this side, the audio is kicking back out this way. Again, these are good speakers. That's not really going to matter. You're not going to notice. So going back to some of our input devices on this. The keyboard, oh my god, this keyboard is fantastic. It is very smooth. It's not super loud, but the click feels really good on them, and honestly, this is the best keyboard in any Chromebook that I have ever tried, being ones that I've had at the house here or going to Best Buy and trying out various keyboards. This one is the best keyboard that I've used. It also has somewhat darker keys, so the backlight on it really helps the letters stand out on it. Moving down to the trackpad. So the trackpad here it's a decent size. It's plenty wide enough, and if you're someone like me who I typically put my pointer finger up at the top and have my thumb down at the bottom to click, this thing it's tall enough. It's not as tall as I would have liked it to be, but it is tall enough, and I feel it's a good trackpad. There's a few issues that I run into with accuracy. It's not as bad as some of the really low-end Chromebooks, but it's not as smooth as I would have wanted on a $600 laptop. It does feel really good, the accuracy is just a little off. Also, some of you may know about a floating trackpad where the bottom of the trackpad here lifts up slightly, and it makes it so that when you click down, you sort of feel like you've clicked, but it hasn't really gone all the way down, so it's not actually giving you that click action. This one does that occasionally. It's so slight though that I didn't even notice it until my wife pointed it out. So it is somewhat of a concern, but it really didn't matter to me in my everyday use. So we've talked about the screen, the audio, the keyboard, the trackpad, the overall build quality, but what's the battery like on this? How long are you going to be able to use this thing for? Well, they advertise over 10 hours of battery life, and I'm happy to say that, yeah, it seems like you can get over 10 hours of battery life, which is fantastic. The fan is also very quiet. I actually don't think I've heard the fan really kick on this machine at all. I did feel the bottom, and the bottom does get a little bit warm, but it's not warm enough to cause the fan to kick on. And I've had no issues with it feeling like it's hot. It's just a tiny bit warm. So going through all of that stuff, what are my general conclusions on this? Well, I love this Chromebook. The build quality is fantastic. The speakers are great. The keyboard feels absolutely amazing. It does have a few downsides. The screen has that little like warm feeling to it. Maybe I got a dud. I don't know. The trackpad, it's not the worst I've tried, but it's not as accurate as I would have wanted in a $600 laptop. There's no HDMI port. Again, it's sort of a nitpicky thing. I can use USB-C. There's one port on each side. I can charge with one. I can use USB-C to HDMI in my other one, and I'll be completely fine. USB port, I don't have an issue with. That USB-A that is a little clicky plastic thing here. But like I said, if you're someone who uses a wireless keyboard or more likely a wireless mouse and you keep that little thing plugged in all the time, maybe this would be an issue for you. But then the last thing, and honestly it's just one of the killers for me, is how hard this thing is to open. Like, struggling from the middle to open this, and it's even harder for my wife to open this. And I don't know, like, I don't know what they were thinking making the magnet so strong in this. It's almost a killer for me. Comparing this between some of the other laptops at its price point, that $699 price point, I can't recommend this thing. Down sub 500, like, I got this thing for $430, and I'm completely happy with it at that point. And maybe for a $500 laptop, maybe even like $550, I could see this being a reasonable option. But when you compare it to what else is available at the same MSRP as this thing, I can't recommend it. I struggle to say that because it is a really nice laptop. But some of those small little things, they add up, and it makes it hard to recommend. Well, that's really going to do it for this review here. So some of you know that I've been making videos for a while, and this is my second review now. So I'm still trying things out. You might see that this video format is different than the last review I did. I'm looking for feedback. If you guys like this style, you like the old style, maybe you want to see something different, let me know, and I will try and improve things for the future. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed this, please consider subscribing and liking the video. It will help out this new channel, help it grow a little bit. So thanks everyone, and I will catch you next time.